answer. I had promised myself this dive would not be about ruins. It would be about proof.
I followed the coins like breadcrumbs left by someone who never wanted to return.
The stamp wasn't merchant gold, it carried authority. I realized the sea had swallowed something that once belonged to a throne.
I had expected coins, not devotion. When the amulet appeared, I knew I was...
The box had rotted, but its wealth refused to disappear. I felt the seabed turning into a map made of valuables. Someone had spilled a necklace across the abyss. It looked less like an accident and more like a deliberate trail. The columns were Roman shapes, but the gold patterns spoke a different language. The sea had stitched cultures together with greed. Gold leaf surviving down here felt impossible, and that impossibility made me careful. If this much remained outside, what waited inside?
A bowl like that belonged to a ceremony, not a traveler. I understood the treasure was anchored to worship.
Someone had poured gold into words so the message could not be ignored. I read it with my fingers when my eyes couldn't trust the silt.
When the doorway widened, the light turned warm for the first time since I descended. I knew I had reached the first treasury. I didn't enter a room. I entered a decision made by priests and kings. And the sea had kept it intact. The altar looked like a sun trapped underwater. I felt small, like I had stepped into someone else's prayer.
I had never seen offerings arranged like a constellation. I realized the builders wanted the treasure to be seen, not hidden.
The mask stared back without eyes. It felt like the temple was watching to see if I deserved to breathe near it.
The floor itself guided me like a ritual procession. I followed the gold like a believer follows a hymn. The relics were curated, not dumped. This was a treasury with rules, and the rules still stood. The writing wasn't just sacred, it was expensive. Someone had paid in gold to make sure the message survived.
The stones were the saddest part, beauty separated from its purpose. It told me the temple had been stripped once, but not completely. The center wasn't a display, it was a lid. I felt the chamber's real secret was under the wealth, not beside it.
I understood why gold was everywhere. It distracted from the mechanism beneath. I moved slowly.
When the compartment opened, the treasure changed tone. Less ceremonial, more administrative. This felt like records made of gold.
The sheet wasn't decoration, it was direction. I realized the temple treasury was only the first chapter. The gold map matched the room like a key matches a lock. The priests had encoded geography into treasure.
The corridor felt like a guarded aisle. Every figurine looked like a witness.
I didn't guess. I followed the logic the temple taught me. Each latch felt like a vow I had to repeat correctly.
When the last latch yielded,
the temple stopped feeling ancient. It felt active.
The cache was too neat for looters. It looked like it had been paused mid-ritual.
That mark didn't belong to the temple language. It sounded like royalty interrupting religion.
I felt the story changing gears without any gears in sight. The temple was pointing beyond itself.
The medallion looked too formal to be purely sacred. It carried the weight of governance.
The seal was the clearest thing I had seen down here. I understood the temple had been entrusted with something far above it.
These weren't prayers, they were directions. The treasury was not the destination, it was the signpost.
I forced myself to leave gold behind. That restraint felt like the price of reaching the real prize. Temple's path aimed into darker water. I followed, knowing the sea kept its greatest wealth where light dies.
The crowns repeated like a drumbeat. Someone wanted the trail unmistakable to the right person. The collapse felt staged, like a soft trap for impatience. I moved as if the treasure was listening.
That token didn't belong in a priest's hand. It belonged in a king's ledger.
Purple underwater looked like bruised royalty. I realized I was passing from devotion into power.
The coffer looked like a negotiation between temple and throne. I knew opening it would change the entire dive. My hands shook despite the cold. I felt the difference between finding treasure and finding evidence. The plate wasn't a blessing, it was an order. It told me the temple had guarded a route to something far greater.
In that seal, I saw the true story. This was never just a temple treasury. It was the doorway to the Imperial Vault.
I left the temple behind without regret. Royal treasure does not sit near the surface of history.
The gate looked like a border, not a doorway. I felt the ocean itself acting as a guard.
That seal ended all doubt. I wasn't chasing rumors anymore. I was standing before a royal lock.
I saw reflections that didn't belong to stone. Behind this, the sea had not won. The vault did not welcome improvisation. It welcomed the correct proof of authority.
When the gold shifted, I felt the vault acknowledging me. It was the closest thing to permission I would get.
The vault exhaled like a living thing. I followed that breath into the darkness.
This corridor wasn't built for priests. It was built for authority to move safely, fast, and unseen.
Settings looked like eyes that had lost their pupils. Even incomplete, the luxury felt violent.
I didn't need to guess where the wealth was. The builders marked the route with gold like it was obvious.
The corridor itself was already a treasure room. I understood then. The vault overflowed by design. I could have taken a lifetime from those locks alone. But the real vault was still ahead, calling louder.
This looked like logistics for a kingdom, not a stash for thieves. The sea had swallowed an imperial supply chain. I felt like I was approaching a throne carved into stone. The emblem didn't decorate the wall, it ruled it. The vault hid its true door behind a symbol of power. It was arrogance made architectural.
I used royal authority like a tool. The stone recognized it instantly.
The airless silence felt heavier here. I knew I was entering a deeper tier of protection.
Gold that clean underwater felt unnatural. The vault was not just sealed, it was preserved.
That purple wasn't decoration, it was status. I felt like I was trespassing on a private empire.
Stan told me the crown existed once and might still exist. My breath slowed, and my greed did too.
No single chest mattered here. The vault was an ocean of wealth inside an ocean of water.
I realized the gold was becoming its own lighting system. It made the darkness feel conquered.
I crossed under an arch that felt like a coronation gate. Beyond it, the vault promised its true spectacle.
This wasn't a pile. It was a curated legacy. Someone had meant to retrieve it, not abandon it.
Seeing statues in rows made the wealth feel organized, disciplined. It was imperial gold, trained to obey symmetry.
I didn't open anything yet because I didn't need to. The vault was already shouting its value.
Authority had fallen here like leaves. It made me wonder what disaster could humble a king.
The days looked like a throne made of storage. I felt the vault directing me toward its highest point.
Each step felt like an escalation in status. I climbed as if approaching the seat of the horde.
That chest was a decoy in plain sight. The vault wanted me to see it, and then see what stood beyond.
I understood then. The hall was only the prelude. The true imperial vault was still sealed.
The vault demanded two proofs, the token and the medallion. The temple had given me the missing half.
When the medallion seated, the seal loosened like a sigh. I felt the vault finally acknowledging its heir.
I watched authority break itself apart to let me through. The moment felt like a confession. Corridor turned my light into a chorus. I felt like I was moving inside a crown.
This wasn't just storage, it was spectacle. The vault wanted anyone inside to feel overwhelmed. For the first time, the gold was not arranged, it was piled. It looked like the sea had tried to sort it and failed.
Each bracelet looked heavy enough to anchor a life. I felt the weight of a vanished court. The rings were signatures without hands. They made me think of panic, someone fleeing, dropping status like it burned.
I felt like I had entered a workshop for royalty. The crown was being hidden in pieces to survive theft.
The crown didn't look lost. It looked waiting.
Scepters meant command, not decoration. I knew I was close to the vault's core.
The architecture changed from impressive to absolute. This door looked like it had never been meant to open again.
I felt my own reflection in the gold, and it made me unease. This was the point where discovery becomes possession.
When the lock released, I didn't feel triumph. I felt the cold seriousness of entering a king's private world. The first sight was not an object, it was a gold horizon. I understood the vault was measured in walls, not chests.
Gold had become architecture. It looked like the empire tried to build permanence out of value.
I had never imagined storage as vertical monument. This was wealth displayed as dominance.
The gems created their own stars in the dark. The sea could mute sound, but it couldn't mute brilliance.
I felt like I was flying over a desert made of spending power. It was terrifying how normal it looked in the end.
The vault had its own geology. Currents had sorted luxury into lines like fate. That chest looked infinite. I realized the vault wasn't one deposit. It was multiple generations poured together.
Even defense here was decorative. The Empire had armored itself with beauty.
I swam through a family tree made of metal. It felt like the dead had commissioned their own immortality.
The seals repeated like a chant of ownership. I understood the vault was as much propaganda as protection.
The ceiling turned the chamber into a palace. The sea had drowned it, but the gold kept it regal.
As the platform shifts, the true extent of the treasury is revealed. A staircase, lined with imperial
The sheer volume of gold here is staggering. It just keeps going.
Scepters next to the crown felt like a complete sentence. The vault had preserved authority as a set. Even movement here was beautiful. The vault made physics look expensive.
The base was discipline, the top was excess. It felt like the Empire showing both its mind and its appetite.
They had archived power in metal, as if paper was too fragile for truth. It made the Horde feel intentional, not accidental. I looked like a speck in front of a dynasty's fortune. For the first time, I felt fear of the value itself.
Every new angle created new treasure. I realized the vault was layered to punish shallow looking.
The vault had backups, redundancy like a system. That's how empires think.
The necklace looked heavy enough to change posture. I imagined it on a neck, and the image felt indecent. That seal was an argument. This belonged to the highest tier. It wasn't stolen, it was stored.
The statue didn't celebrate wealth. It sanctified authority.
I realized the vault had compartments like a palace has rooms. What I saw was only what they allowed to be seen.
I came back to the crown because it was the story's peak. Everything else was wealth, that was meaning.
In that tableau, I understood what they were hiding. Not money, but legitimacy. The vault was a throne without a king.
The gold made its own sunrise underwater. It felt wrong that something so beautiful had been buried by tragedy. I forced myself to look like a documentarian, not a thief. This was evidence of an empire's last decision. I recorded what my hands could barely accept. I knew proof mattered more than possession.
I understood restraint as survival. Some doors stay closed because opening them changes you.
That last look felt like a farewell to a forgotten dynasty. I knew the sea would keep it unless the world came properly.
I didn't feel like I had found treasure. I felt like I had discovered power sleeping underwater, and I had